This system did not fail because it lacked talent or leadership. It failed because it was optimized for expansion in a world that imposed limits. At its peak, it appeared disciplined, unstoppable, and internally coherent. Every reform, every institution, every command structure reinforced momentum. This video is not about Napoleon. It is about how expansion-driven systems eventually break. Napoleonic France emerged as a highly centralized and integrated system. Authority flowed from a single center through administrative layers designed to execute decisions, not to debate them. Decision-making was fast because it was concentrated. Feedback was limited because speed mattered more than deliberation. Fragmented institutions inherited from the ancien regime were replaced with uniform mechanisms intended to function identically across territory. Prefects appointed from the center governed departments. They answered upward, not to local bodies. The civil service became professionalized and standardized, aligned with state objectives rather than regional interests. Administration became legible, predictable, and scalable. Legal standardization reinforced this coherence. The Civil Code unified property law, contracts, and civil relations. It reduced uncertainty and lowered transaction costs. Law became an instrument of coordination rather than negotiation. Whether applied in Paris or annexed territories, it functioned the same way. Military organization reflected identical principles. The army was structured as a mass conscription force, standardized in training, hierarchy, and command. Corps operated as semi-independent units, but remained coordinated through centralized direction. Promotion aligned personal ambition with system objectives. Logistics, supply, and production were organized under unified control. Fiscal systems were centralized as well. Taxation became systematic and predictable. Revenue extraction was no longer negotiated locally, but administered directly by state officials. Conscription followed the same logic. Manpower became a calculable resource, allocated according to administrative capacity rather than custom. Education, infrastructure, and civil institutions were aligned with state priorities. Roads, bridges, and canals facilitated movement of armies and goods. Schools produced loyalty to the state rather than local or religious authority. Every subsystem reinforced the others. The system achieved efficiency through tight coupling. Changes in one domain propagated rapidly through the entire structure. This created responsiveness and coherence, but it also reduced buffering. Failures could cascade quickly. The system worked because it matched the conditions it initially faced. Rival powers were fragmented. Decision-making elsewhere was slow. Resource mobilization was limited by negotiation and institutional friction. The Napoleonic system bypassed these constraints. Centralization reduced coordination costs, speed created advantage. Expansion converted conquest into administrative capacity. Territory was not merely occupied, it was absorbed. Administrative frameworks, legal codes, taxation, and conscription were imposed rapidly. Expansion increased resource extraction and manpower. Success validated the structure and reinforced confidence in its logic. Hidden assumptions supported this performance. The system assumed continuous expansion. It lacked mechanisms for stabilization at a fixed scale. Legitimacy depended on delivering results. Meritocracy required new positions created by growth. Administrative capacity assumed new territory to govern. It assumed resistance would remain manageable. Early opponents were divided. Populations often accepted integration as preferable to fragmented governance. The system did not account for resistance adapting, coordinating, or persisting without decisive confrontation. It assumed logistics would remain reliable. Supply lines functioned when distance was limited and infrastructure dense. Requisitioning worked where populations were compliant. The system treated logistics as scalable rather than conditional. It assumed central command could process increasing complexity. As scale grew, information flow expanded faster than processing capacity. Coordination costs increased nonlinearly. Centralization became a bottleneck. These assumptions reinforced each other. Expansion sustained legitimacy. Legitimacy enabled conscription. Conscription sustained military capacity. Military capacity enabled further expansion. The system was optimized to prevent these assumptions from being tested. Structural limits emerged gradually. Administrative oversight weakened as territory multiplied. Logistics failed when distance exceeded capacity. Resistance became dispersed and persistent, avoiding decisive engagements. Coordination slowed as complexity overwhelmed centralized decision-making. Momentum became a trap. The system depended on continuous success. Slowing down threatened legitimacy, incentive structures, and administrative coherence. Retreat was not a strategic option. It undermined the logic of the system itself. Collapse was not a single event. It was a process of degradation. Capacity eroded, control fragmented, legitimacy weakened. Each failure amplified strain on remaining subsystems. The pattern extends beyond this case. Systems optimized for expansion develop strengths that become liabilities at scale. Centralization increases efficiency but reduces flexibility. Speed enables dominance but amplifies fragility. Unified command minimizes friction but concentrates failure. Napoleonic France did not fail because it lacked capability. It failed because its design eliminated the mechanisms needed to function once expansion encountered limits. The system did exactly what it was built to do. When the environment changed, it could not adapt without dismantling itself. That is how expansion-driven systems collapse.